I know this story will sound impossible, but everything I'm about to tell you started the moment I picked up a tiny memory card lying in the dirt behind an old gas station. There was nothing special about it at first glance, and I almost threw it away because it looked scratched up and half broken. Something in my gut told me to keep it, even though I had no idea why that feeling hit me so suddenly. If I had known what was on it, I'm not sure I would have taken it home. When I got back to my apartment, I tossed the card on my desk and went to make coffee, trying to ignore how cold my hands felt after holding it. My place was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes every little sound echo like there's someone else there with you. When I sat down and slid the memory card into the reader, my laptop screen flickered once like it was reacting to something unfamiliar. Then a folder popped up with a name that made my stomach twist, 2121_personal. At first, I laughed because it felt like some teenager's idea of a joke, but the laughter faded when the first thumbnail loaded. The picture showed a street that didn't look like anything on Earth right now. Long glass platforms floating above the ground and buildings spiraling like metal vines. The sky was tinted purple, not like a sunset, but like the atmosphere itself had changed. I clicked the next picture without breathing. The second image froze me in place because it was a close-up of me, but older by maybe 5 or 6 years. I was wearing clothes that looked military, but not from any military I knew, and behind me were symbols I didn't recognize. My eyes looked tired in a way I couldn't explain, like I'd lived a whole life I didn't remember living. I pushed my chair back so fast it almost fell over. I tried to convince myself it was a prank, a glitch anything but real, but every detail in that photo matched me perfectly. Even the faint scar on my cheek I got during a college hiking trip. I clicked through more photos, each one showing places and people I had never seen but somehow felt connected to. There were sleek highways with no visible vehicles and crowds of people wearing small glowing bands around their necks. It was like looking through a window into a world I wasn't supposed to see. When I reached the 10th photo, everything changed because this picture wasn't a still frame of a stranger's future, it was dated. In the corner, the timestamp said March 18th, 2121, and my heart jumped because it was the same date as that exact day. It meant that the picture had supposedly been taken only hours ago, and yet the place in the picture didn't exist anywhere on Earth right now. I stared until my eyes burned. I tried searching the internet for any information about the tech, the architecture, or even the strange glowing bands people were wearing, but nothing came close. Every description I read online felt primitive in comparison to what I'd seen in the photos. I kept glancing back at the memory card sitting in the slot like it was waiting for my next move. I finally clicked on the last file, the one buried deepest inside the folder. It wasn't a picture, it was a short video clip. My hand was shaking as I pressed play because suddenly every instinct in my body told me I shouldn't watch it. The screen went black for 3 seconds, then the image snapped into focus. It was me again, older, staring straight into the camera with eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. "If you found this, then the timeline is already shifting," the older version of me said in a low voice. His tone was calm, almost too calm, like he'd rehearsed those words many times before. Behind him, alarms were flashing, and the room looked futuristic but damaged, like something terrible had just happened. "You're not supposed to know yet, but you have to listen." My heart thudded so hard I could hear it in my ears as the older me leaned closer to the camera. His voice dropped to a whisper, and I felt a cold shiver crawl up my back. "You made the wrong choice the first time. Don't repeat it. Someone is coming to take the card from you." The video cut off before I could hear anything else. I sat there stunned, staring at the frozen final frame where the older me looked terrified, almost begging. Nothing in my life had prepared me to deal with something like that, and for the first time, I wondered if I had stumbled into something far bigger than me. The silence in my apartment was unbearable now, and it felt like the walls were closing in. I pulled the memory card out and held it like it might burn through my hand. I tried to calm myself down, telling myself it was a deep fake and elaborate one, but deep inside, I knew it wasn't. There was no uncanny valley effect, no weird blinking or mouth movements. Even the scar on his forearm, one I hadn't gotten yet, was crystal clear. Everything felt too precise to fake. I decided to go out for air because the apartment felt too small, too filled with pressure. As I stepped outside, I noticed a black sedan parked across the street with tinted windows, something I had never seen in my neighborhood before. The engine was running, and I felt the driver's gaze on me even though I couldn't see his face. I walked in the opposite direction, trying to act casual. My legs felt heavy as I headed toward the small park 2 blocks away, but my mind was racing with 1,000 questions. If that older version of me was real, then what choice had I made wrong? What was this shifted timeline he talked about? And worst of all, who was coming for the card? I sat on a bench near the fountain and watched people pass by, trying to convince myself everything was normal. A kid rode a scooter, a couple argued quietly, and an old man fed pigeons like he did every afternoon. Nothing looked strange, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that something around me had already changed. It was like being out of sync with the world. After sitting there for nearly 20 minutes, I noticed the same black sedan roll slowly down the street beside the park. The windows stayed tinted and I still couldn't see inside, but I knew it was the same one from my street. My pulse spiked, and I stood quickly, trying to blend into the crowd. Every instinct screamed at me to leave. I slipped into a grocery store and headed straight to the back where the storage room door was cracked open. Without thinking, I stepped inside and closed it behind me. My hands were shaking, and I could barely breathe as I listened for footsteps. It felt insane hiding in a grocery store, but I didn't know what else to do. After a minute, I peeked through the crack in the door and saw a man in a dark suit walking down the aisle slowly. He wasn't holding a basket or looking at anything on the shelves, he was scanning faces. His expression was calm but too controlled, like someone trained to stay emotionless. My stomach dropped because somehow I knew he was looking for me. I backed away quietly and moved deeper into the storage area until I found another exit near the loading dock. My shoes hit the pavement quickly, and I kept jogging until I reached an alley behind the building. I leaned against the cold brick wall and tried to steady my breathing. The memory card felt like a bomb in my pocket. I didn't know where to go, but I knew I couldn't go home, not with that sedan following me. I headed toward an older part of town where the streets were quieter and the buildings looked abandoned. The shadows felt safer than the open sidewalks. I ducked into an empty warehouse through a broken door. Inside, the place smelled like dust and rusted metal, but it was at least hidden. Sunlight streamed through the cracked roof in long, soft beams. I sat on the floor next to an old machine and pulled out the memory card again, staring at it like it might talk. "What are you?" I whispered. I powered on my laptop again, even though the battery was low from earlier. When I loaded the card, something new appeared, another folder I hadn't seen before. It was labeled Final in all caps. My throat tightened as I clicked it. A single text file popped up with a strange timestamp. 2121 greater than 2024, greater than 2018 greater than 2030. The numbers made no sense until I opened the file and read the first line. "This is not the first time you found this memory card." The words hit me like a punch. The document went on to explain something unbelievable, that I had been stuck in a loop across shifting timelines, and each time, the world changed slightly based on a choice I made. The older version of me wasn't warning me about a future event. He was warning me about repeating the loop again. And the decision apparently always came down to the same moment. The final paragraph made my palms sweat because it named the moment. You must decide whether to trust the people searching for the card or destroy it before they reach you. Every timeline changes depending on which choice you make. Below that line, there was one more message. This time, choose differently. I sat there stunned because now I had to wonder, were the people in the sedan protecting the timeline or trying to control it? If I trusted them, maybe I'd break the cycle. But if I destroyed the card, maybe I'd save myself and stop whatever future disaster my older self was running from. A sudden clang echoed through the warehouse, snapping me out of my thoughts. Someone had entered through the front door. Slow footsteps traveled across the metal floor, steady and deliberate. They had found me. I grabbed the memory card and backed up toward the rear exit, but the footsteps grew louder. My pulse hammered so hard it hurt. A voice called out from the shadows, calm and commanding. "Please don't run. We're here to help you." I froze because the voice didn't sound threatening, it sounded familiar. When the man stepped into the beam of light, I felt all the air leave my body. He looked exactly like the man in the photos from the future, except he wasn't me, he was someone I didn't recognize. Someone carrying the same glowing neckband I'd seen in the pictures. "You're not supposed to be out here alone," he said gently. He explained that the memory card was never meant to reach this timeline, and every time it did, I got caught in the loop again. He said they weren't here to harm me, they were here to bring me back before the fractures spread. His expression was calm but heavy, like he carried the weight of 100 timelines on his shoulders. I didn't know whether to believe him. As he stepped closer, I felt that familiar instinct rise again, the same instinct that told me to pick up the card in the first place. "If you come with us, you'll finally understand everything," he said quietly. But you have to hand me the card. My fingers tightened around it. Behind him, I heard more footsteps entering the warehouse, each one echoing through the metal space like a countdown. I didn't know who they were or which version of the truth they served. The man extended his hand slowly, waiting. My mind raced with every warning my older self had given me. I stared at the card, then at him, then back at the card again, realizing that whatever choice I made right then would shape everything. My chest felt tight, and my vision blurred around the edges. I took one slow, shaky breath. And then I made my decision. But right when my fingers moved, the warehouse lights flickered violently, and the floor seemed to vibrate like reality itself was glitching. The man stepped back with a startled look, shouting something I couldn't hear. The world around me bent sideways like a warped reflection in water. And everything went black before I could see what choice I had actually made. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the floor of my apartment as if nothing had happened, but the memory card was gone. My laptop screen was blank, and the clock on the wall was frozen at the exact minute the glitch happened. I felt different, like something inside me had been rearranged. And outside my window, the black sedan was no longer there. I still don't know which version of reality I'm in now, but sometimes when I walk past mirrors, I think I see a slightly older version of myself looking back. Other times I dream of the purple sky from the photos, and I wake up knowing it wasn't just a dream. Maybe I broke the loop, or maybe I'm still inside it. I guess I'll find out soon enough. Until then, stay curious, stay aware, and don't ignore the strange moments life throws at you because they might be trying to tell you something. If you want more stories that bend time, twist reality, and pull you into the unknown, make sure you subscribe to Time Traveling Stories. New journeys drop every week, and trust me, you won't want to miss where we go next. I'll see you in the next timeline.